Welcome to a new season of Dare, the time of your life, formerly Life's Booming, brought to you by Australian seniors. Hello, I'm Jean Kittson, and this season is called Better with Age, where we're flipping the script and showing you how age is not a dirty word, but rather it's your time to live your life to the fullest. Australians are actually living longer, healthier lives and reshaping what older looks like. So in this series, we're chatting with over 50s who are rewriting the ageing rulebook from career pivots to second acts. This episode celebrates the Reinvention Generation and explores how we can continue to push through career blocks and debunk tiresome stereotypes as we age. Is it because that's just how we're wired? Or is it to prove that our best work is still ahead? To help us answer such questions is Jane Curry, a highly experienced publishing executive and newly appointed Managing Director of Simon & Schuster, Australia and New Zealand. Jane is also the founder of Ventura Press, a company she started as a way of championing older female authors, many of whom only turn to writing later in life. And joining Jane is the fabulous author and beloved friend, Kathy Lette. Her career has pushed boundaries from the get-go. When she left school at 16 to write her debut novel, Puberty Blues, it had parents wringing their hands while teenagers lapped it up, and it was later turned into a movie and a TV series. She's gone on to pen more than 20 best-selling books, including her latest, The Sisterhood Rules, which has top bestseller lists worldwide, and it's funny and it's fabulous and always empowering. Jane and Kathy, it's so great to have you with us to speak about yourselves and your work.
And about you and your amazing work and your incredible life.
Oh, do go on.
My comic goddess right here before us. Jean's broken so many boundaries with her comedy.
Oh,
you have.
Kathy, you're amazing, and she's a long time beloved friend, and as you, in your words, you're my human wonder bra.
Uplifting and supporting. I'd also say we are each other's big pair of knickers. We've got our asses covered.
That's right. Kathy's the best friend you could possibly have, and then
ditto.
don't we all need them?
Female friendship, yeah.
Kathy,
yes.
On a more serious note, you have written about all aspects of life, from puberty to marriage, childbirth, menopause, often based on your own experiences. You've inspired and entertained and soothed millions of readers, including your latest book, The Sisterhood Rules, which I absolutely love and should be a manual for any woman breaking up or any older woman wanting a bit of spice in her life, really.
Great.
But when your previous publishers said to you that nobody wants to read about middle-aged women, and they dropped you after 19 books in 17 languages, bestsellers, and you went on to write The Revenge Club, another bestseller. I mean, how did you do that?
I went to see my agent and said, I want to write a book about 4 middle-aged women who take revenge on the men who've sidelined them and ruined their careers. And he was like, I don't know, middle-aged women just aren't that sexy. And then I went to see my publisher at the time, and my publisher was like, middle-aged women, we know they exist, but nobody wants to go there.
Oh, my goodness.
And I looked at books written about women my age, like Anita Bruckner novels, for example, and there was about sad, depressed, lonely women who wilt away and die in their flats and get eaten by their cats. Now, I don't know any women like that. All my women friends are like, Jean, they're swinging off a chandelier with a cocktail between their teeth. But when they first said that to me, then my publisher dropped me. I thought, gosh, maybe I have passed my amuse-by date. And just for a moment, I did have a real crisis of confidence. But then, of course, I'm an Aussie girl, and we Aussie girls are made of stern stuff.
Indeed.
So I thought, he's wrong. They're both wrong. So I got a gay agent, and I got a new publisher, Bloomsbury, and the book went to number 1 on the bestseller list, which was The Best Revenge. It's called The Revenge Club. So, it was so exciting. And also, I love writing about women this age because our hinterland is huge. We've had the marriages, the divorces, the breakups, the promotions, the backstabs. We've raised the kids. We've looked after our aged parents, as Jean did so devotedly. we've got so much to talk about and so much to share and so much wisdom. Just at the time society hands us the old invisibility cloak and puts us out to career pasture. It's not just me imagining that women my age are given the cloak of invisibility. A few years ago, MI5 said they wanted to hire middle-aged women as spies because nobody sees us.
Oh.
Soak that up. And I remember the governor of the board of the Bank of England, he said not long ago that the economy was going through a menopausal phase, sluggish.
Oh,
and I was like, tell that to Oprah Winfrey and Nicole Kidman and Kate Blanchett and all the other people, Michelle Obama, all these other menopausal and postmenopausal women. So the sexism is sewn into our psyche, and we really have to fight hard against that. And thanks to Jean and others of our generation, we've taken the stigma out of menopause. But the next big feminist hurdle for us is sexist ageism, because we get treated in a different way to men our age, and we really have to rail against it because we're in our prime, we're in the peak of our productivity.
And also we've all had to witness with the BAFTAs was on every time we see these women who are completely transformed because they're not allowed to age in public. So that's the standard.
Yes.
I mean, we're fortunate in where we're in the book business, so it's brain first in our business and always has been.
Better to be witty than pretty.
Yeah, witty than pretty. So, and I remember a friend of mine who is actually a cosmetic surgeon, he said to me that it's the women who have always been beautiful that have had that sense of power when they walk into a room and they turn heads because of their beauty. They're the ones that find it harder to age.
Well, it's a diminishing asset.
Yes. Whereas, when you're in the book business, as I've been, and Kathy, the entertainment book, women of letters, we do have that. Our brain is our superpower.
Yeah.
And then what we look like comes after that. Yes.
It's hard to fight it, though, isn't it?
Well, it is hard to fight it.
Especially when you are performing.
Oh, yes. Well, in this new job I got tapped on the shoulder to run Simon & Schuster. So the first thing I found was all the settings on Zoom and Teams, because I report into the UK and I have meetings in the US all the time. And sometimes they're first thing in the morning, like 7:30 in the morning. So I'm like, where's the filter?
Where's that sparkle wand?
We used to laugh when I worked at Macmillan. There's fabulous filters that Jackie Collins had on all their photographs.
Oh, my gosh, yes. In fact, I've had lunch with Jackie Collins a few times, with Joan Collins, Joan and Jackie. I mean, the double whammy.
Oh,
yes.
Bookended by
sisterhood.
sensational broads. Joan Collins will move everybody around the table till she's got the right lighting. Oh. And isn't she clever? You know that when you're filming, they have that big silver thing that reflects them. Why can't we have a dress made out of that?
Why can't we?
Or shoes?
Because we don't care, Kathy.
We don't care. We don't
Or
really.
ultimately,
we're rushing from one thing to the next.
Don't care.
We don't care. But Jean and I don't do any of that Botoxy.
No, nor do
stuff.
I.
I think men should just read between my lines. The books, the babies, the hours of fun-loving flirtation. But it does get hard to resist it when all the other women
I think that's the thing when
look much younger.
What
That's
they call
right.
in data, they call it benchmarking. So like any set of data figures in my world, you benchmark against what was the bestseller. And so it's sort of benchmarking when you're talking about sales and all of that, but it's benchmarking with what we look like. So you sort of benchmark against... I think we're very critical of ourselves because you look at another woman who's the same age and they've had the facelift and they've had everything done. And then, look, I momentarily worry about it. And then, honestly, I look at my to-do list and I think, really?
No.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 daughters, so I don't want to be that role model.
No.
I've always said
Yes.
it's not what you look like, it's what you feel like, you know.
Yes,
Keep the lights low. Greatest beauty aid known to womankind.
Yeah.
And you know what's happened in Hollywood? The pediatric technicians there, the doctors noticed that the babies were not hitting their developmental milestones. And they were saying, is it because they're having too much carcinogens in their smoked salmon? I'm thinking, no, it's Botox. Because babies look at your face like when you go, I love you, little baby. The baby goes, coo, and you go, ah. If you've had Botox and you're going, I love you, and the baby's going, and you're going, they're not learning anything.
You should write a research paper on that.
It's
They should do
hysterical,
it.
isn't it? I know.
I was told not to go, not to go grey because I wouldn't, in the gig economy, I wouldn't get work. Apparently, the research shows that that men don't like actually working with women with grey hair
Because it reminds them of their mothers, is it?
or maybe they feel that they
It's
have
aging
to
them.
defer, or no, not
They
defer.
can have grey hair.
They can have grey hair. So
Well,
there are some interesting facts.
I was going to say,
around.
part of the problem is that we never see women who look like us. 85% of people on British and Australian television over 50 are men. So the women just get immediately sidelined and put out to career pasture when they get one grey hair and one wrinkle. We should be saying, we want to see ourselves reflected.
Yes.
Don't disappear us, you know.
Jane, you would see this in the industry. You've seen this before. What happened to Kathy? Have you?
Oh, yes, because a lot of decisions are made on data. You know, they'll say, particularly I think people got very frightened when social media arrived. They got very frightened that they had to chase people with massive Instagram following.
Oh, yes.
And then there was the sort of Sally Rooney phenomenon where everybody wanted a normal people, and that was that emerging, you know,
Irish writers.
Irish and all that sort of coming of age story. And we're just, you know, we move as a pack, the publishing industry. So once there's one normal people, you can guarantee the next year there'll be 10 normal people. And that's a book for people who haven't read it that was published by Sally Rooney. It was her debut novel, and, you know, it was one of the zeitgeist novels.
She became a publishing phenomenon.
In terms of ageism in comedy, it's just a general feeling that I think women, first of all, women in comedy is been really hard from the start, and you really have to push, and it's a much more sort of natural environment for men because they're confident, and some comedians can go on and not even have thought about what they're going to say. They're just so confident.
Yeah.
When I was starting out in comedy, I would be starting out with the few women that were around in the 80s, and we'd be in pubs and we'd go on stage and everyone would be drinking and eating their pizza and no one would listen, and the women would come off and going, oh my God, I'm just not funny.
Yeah.
I haven't got good material. I stink. I can't do this. The men would go out there and they would get exactly the same reaction. People are just drinking. And they'd come back and they'd go, that audience wouldn't know a joke if it was up them. They're just so freaking hopeless. And they'd just blame the audience. And women would blame themselves. And I don't know where that comes from, but I think it can become more pronounced as you get older, and there's slowly more and more diminishing things that happen to you, like walking into a butcher and the butcher saying, hello, young lady. And you think, I'm too young to be called a young lady. I'm not old enough. That's something that they would say to your grandmother, hello, young lady, and expect you to like that. Expect it to be
on the head. Yes.
It's so patronising.
There's also it's an inbuilt prejudice against women that we're not funny. And I was at a dinner party in London once, and the hostess made a really good joke, and the husband, and men didn't pay her any attention. The husband just went, oh, embarrassing. Women can't tell jokes. And I was like, that's because we marry them, and made everybody laugh at him. And that did take away his power. So just lean into that verbal ability that women have. We're more verbally dexterous, so use it. Like develop what I call the black belt in tongue fu. Quiplash,
Yeah, that's fantastic. Don't censor
ourselves. Good comeback.
Yes.
Yeah, good comeback.
I know. I think we're getting stronger, and we shouldn't suppress our strength as we probably have to keep peace. With the family,
That's
with our
right.
work, to balance everything. You suppress a lot of who you
Yeah,
are.
my eldest always says to me, Mum, you're overthinking.
Yeah.
And that's the best mental health advice. So whenever we do overthink.
But I think women should just never go. You're underdressed if you go out at night without a couple of good one-liners tucked up your
I think
trouser
that's
leg.
really good advice.
Because if you whack it back
Yes.
and make other people laugh at them, you completely take away their power.
Well, you've got so many good one-liners.
One-liner
so many.
artists.
You're like a one-liner
I know.
factory.
I've got to lift my game.
Yeah, exactly. So do I. Oh. So when your publishers said that ridiculous thing that nobody wants to read about middle-aged women, did you ever doubt yourself and think that I might have to reinvent myself in any way?
Well, I did. I just for a moment, I lost confidence and I thought maybe I have passed my amuse-by date. But then I looked around at my own female friends and I thought, they're so wonderful. They're all, swinging off a chandelier with a toy boy between their teeth. I want to write about these women. But I think as a writer, I'm always reinventing because I cannibalise my own life. My mother's a teacher, and I think I've got a bit of her teacher gene, that I always write the book I wish I'd had when I was going through something. So to the girls in puberty blues, to teach them that they were more than a life support system to a pair of breasts, to girls dating and then to motherhood and marriage and divorce and menopause and raising an autistic child, raising a teenager, now this postmenopausal second act. So I'm always reinventing because I'm changing.
Yes.
Women are used to change. We've got so much change going on in our lives. So yeah, I think it comes naturally to women. So if you are reinventing yourself post-menopause, it's almost like situation normal. We're always constantly changing. And even divorce, I don't see divorce as a failure. I just see it as a change.
Yes.
Life is long. From honeymoon to tomb could be like 80 years. So just if you need to reinvent, it's okay. And it comes more naturally to women. So don't be afraid of change. Change is good. But I would say women this age, this is a coming of age time.
Yes.
Because we're the first generation who are economically independent. We've got the rocket fuel of HRT. We've got the chutzpah and the courage to say what we're thinking. We're reinventing ourselves, having a sensational second act. Because I always say this time of your life for women is the best because post-menopause, you've got, you don't have to worry about period cramps or pregnancy scares. You've got all that tampon money to spend, and
kids are grown up.
Yes,
you've got all that crystallized experience, as they call it.
I want to know what you think of this, Jane, because I accidentally invented. I hate the term.
I know what you're going to say.
I accidentally invented it in the 70s with puberty blues and chooklet.
Yes.
And then when I wrote Mad Cows and Fetal Attraction, I sort of invented mummy lit. And then when I wrote Nip and Tuck, that was nip lit. And I'm like, I need a new genre for women our age. And I thought, well, post 50, you get that fabulous, feck it, I'm 50 gene, where you no longer care what people think about you. So I was thinking, what about I don't give a shit lit?
That's brilliant.
Oh, good.
Wouldn't that be a great genre?
publisher.
And imagine winning the Booker Prize and they go, and now in the genre of I don't give a lit. Yeah.
Hollywood or the entertainment news is catching. If you think of the Thursday Murder Club, that was Richard Osman, who of course is an older man, so he can get away with it. But, the adaptation with Helen Mirren and, those amazing actors. So
yes,
there is starting to be balance, but
that's even older. That's when they're in their retirement home. I'm talking about this moment, just post-menopausal, where the publishers are saying it's not sexy, it's not attractive. It's all right when you're older for some reason. There's a jump to the Judi Dench.
The silver dollar there.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the silver dollar.
Well, what about the post-menopausal dollar?
Yes.
Who do they think's reading books? It's women our age.
Well, actually, I always say to any publisher, go to a writers' festival. It's all women of a certain age, our age.
Over 50.
Over 50, filling the audience.
Yes.
And I'm on book tour right now for the Sisterhood Rules, and I'm going around the country. I've been to Perth, I've been doing them in Sydney and Melbourne, and I'm just about to go up to Queensland. And I get to meet the readers, which is so fabulous. It's my favourite thing. And they're women of a certain age. They bring me up little kind of anecdotal doggy bags, a little story they've saved up for me about who their husband had an affair with or how they got revenge or whatever it is. And they're so funny. And sometimes they cry as well. They'll have a cry and they'll tell me something very personal that's happened to them and we have a hug. And they're all so interesting. I want to go out on a girls' night out with all of them all the time.
Yes, we've been.
And yet they're written off.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about it, getting ready this morning. And as you get older, you look back at how society's structured. And it is so sort of primarily structured around power and money. And
which is predominantly been male.
So then I thought, you got, as a woman, you've got two ways of doing that. You can either marry into that and become the trophy wife and be terrified that they're going to leave you. So there's that way of attaching yourself to money. Or there's the other way of doing it, which is the way I did it, which is make it yourself.
Yes, exactly. Always a better option.
So that was my option. So that's why I've sort of admired those other women from afar, because I'd never been part of their world. Even at university, I was never part of that world. We as women have to decide very early on. I think it's innate. I don't know whether you make an actual decision how you're going to fit around that. There's two binaries, power and money. But as women, it's not naturally given to us. So we have to decide, even in the corporate world, that means you've got to constantly keep up with that.
Appearances.
Or...
The trophy mustn't be tarnished.
Yes.
Well, that's right. That's right. It's a big role to fill for the whole of your life, trying to live up to that.
Yeah.
Sorry, there was a billboard saying many years ago, which was a brilliant billboard, which had a picture of a young woman: "Don't marry a millionaire, become a millionaire."
But when I give talks in schools to girls, which I do often, I always say to them, choose your partner carefully, because if you want to be an alpha female in having a big career, if you choose an alpha man, guess who's going to be the one who has to pull back when the child's sick or whatever. But if you choose a beta male, someone who'll adore you, not bore you and do all your chores for you, who wants to put you on a pedestal and will probably polish it while you're up there, you've got to have a much bigger and better and more satisfying career. So I've been married to two alphas whom I adore, but I've now got a beta boyfriend, and beta's better. Like the women who are very successful in British television, for example, Sandy Toksvig, Sue Perkins, Claire Balding, are all gay. What do they have? Wives.
Yeah.
Wives, and I've kind of got a male wife now, and it's fabulous. I highly recommend it.
That's a really good
It's funny
tip.
because Kathy's just in from Perth. I'm just in from Brisbane. My overnight bag from Brisbane is just on the floor of my bedroom, just and so we don't have wives.
No, that's what we need.
We need the backup.
Yeah. So, what would you say to people who are already over 50 and who are confronting this ageism? I mean, how do they manage it? Because the confidence. I'll tell you a quick story. A friend of mine is a teacher, and she retired. She was a brilliant teacher, still is. She was doing some casual work, and she went to the person organising the casual work at the secondary college. She'd been working for 20 years and said, "I'm really liking the casual work. Any casual work you can throw my way, that'd be good, because I'm finding it hard to live on the pension." And he said, I don't know. There's a lot of younger casual teachers around, and they've got more longevity and productivity than you have. You don't need productivity and longevity to be a good teacher either.
No.
For a developing mind.
She needs to teach him that lesson. I hope she got up on the table and tap danced.
You used to say, Kathy, in television, it doesn't matter what age you are, as long as you don't look it. That's what the producers used to say.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they're saying you've passed your use-by date. Well, guess what? Tesco, a big supermarket chain in Britain, just took use-by dates off the food because they said, make up your own mind. Stop. And I think the same should be done for women.
Exactly.
Take our use-by date off. Judge us on our performance and our enthusiasm and our flexibility and our knowledge and our sense of humour, and we're individuals. What you have to do to survive the second act is go on a lot of girls' nights out, a lot of laughter and sisterly camaraderie and strength in numbers, and just boost each other up, give each other work. Like really put your hand down and pull women up behind you.
Yeah.
But in the sisterhood rules, I've put lots of rules in the beginning about sisterly solidarity, like love and loyalty, and sticking to each other like a nylon dress in a heat wave, and also encouraging women to think big. Like, don't tell men you want their seats on the bus; you want their seats on the board. Like, think big. We don't have big enough ambitions for ourselves. Husbands come and go, but the sisterhood lasts forever.
I agree totally. It's really important to have people you can ring up when you're feeling really down and just have a chat with them, and then they lift you up, and that's so important.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you want to talk about when you gave up publishing. When you left your job and opened your own publishing company, did you have a mentor then, or who was supporting you?
Amazing timing to ask me that, because I'm just about to go to the London Book Fair, and I got my first job in publishing in London. And my boss, who must be now in her 80s, is still an absolute mover and shaker.
What's her name?
Kit Van Teleken. She's the mother of the Teleken twins, the Van Teleken twins, who are those, they're doctors that do sell 1 million copies of their books, identical twins.
Oh, you've written about twins in this.
Yeah.
So she had the corner office when I was literally sitting in a corridor at about age 22 or 23. And there she was in the corner office, and her two boys would come in after school, and I just looked up and thought, She was my absolute role model.
Great.
And I'm seeing her in the London Book Fair.
Nice.
And then I think it's important for other women who are, working. I have a coach. I have a business coach. So I see her once a month and she sorts my head out. Not a psychologist, but business-wise. So where we have our natural weaknesses and we, she'll always say, she's the one that sends me those texts when I'm saying I've got this difficult discussion or or different, different emotions that you're taking to meetings, just to take the emotion out of it and rely on the business. So I think that's important for people who are working, because we are older, so we do have the capacity to sort of resource ourselves. So rather than have a cleaner, I'd rather have a business coach.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. That's such a
to
good...
clean out your
Yes,
brain.
yes,
yeah.
yes.
We do a lot of mentoring in England to younger women. Through the Women of the World Festival, we mentor young girls at school. And we go in the wheel. We go, the millennial wheel?
Oh, yes.
And we're in different pods. And we go around in a pod with a group of girls. And then the next time we get off and get in another pod. So we make it fun, but it's also very helpful for them. And it's good for me. I learn a lot from them as well.
Yeah, one of the things I've learned going back into corporate after about 10 years of running my own business is, the young women that we employ, how they're much more in their power than I ever was at that age.
Definitely.
When I was getting divorced, my lawyer turned around and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I think." Looking at the kangaroo and the emu on the coat of arms, thinking, how on earth did I end up here? But then I said afterwards, "How do you do that every day?" And he said, "I take there's no emotion in it for me, Jane. I take the emotion out of it." And I've always remembered that advice. So take the emotion out of things, even the most difficult business transaction. When you're particularly in publishing, you're dealing with creative people, but take the emotion out of it. Look at the bare bones of the business transaction. Put the emotion in at the beginning and the end. But when it comes to actually achieving an outcome that is to satisfaction of both parties, take the emotion out of it. So channeling my divorce lawyer.
When I got divorced, I remember saying, I knew they charged by the hour. So I used to go in and say, no adjectives, no adverbs, no anecdotes. Just get straight to the facts. But getting back to the mentor thing, I'd just like to say that I do want to encourage all women to always help other women. And when I wrote Puberty Blues as a teenager, that was rejected by about 10 publishers. And then I saw Anne Summers had written a piece in the paper about gang rapes in Queensland or something. I thought she'll get this surfy brutality that goes on. And I sent her some of the manuscript, and she sent it to a small feminist publishing group called McPhee Gribble in Melbourne. And the rest is history. So that was an absolute perfect example of the sisterhood supporting each other. So
And getting it, understanding
each other. That's
and
right.
what they're going through and the importance of talking about
We
it.
just need more women in power. Why can't women just run the world just for a year? We say to the men, go play golf, do whatever you like, just go for a year. Just let us take over. We can't do a worse job than you've done, and see what we could achieve.
Well, fortunately, COVID's given us flexible work conditions.
Yes.
We couldn't get it beforehand, but most of my staff now, we've got nearly 100 people, and it's fantastic. So we've got lots of young mothers on the payroll.
Oh, that's
Brilliant.
And they work, it's great. And I think it took COVID to allow the bosses, the patriarchy, to see that working from home can work.
Because that's another big sexist trope, that society expects women to raise children as though we don't work.
Well, that's why I started my own business, because when I told my boss I was expecting, the very first thing he said to me was, "Well, you can't work part-time." That's what he said to me. And I was the managing director at the time, and I actually miscarried that baby. So it gave me a little window to get out from under. So that's when I went to Macmillan, because Ross Gibb, who's just retired from publishing, he said over lunch at Machiavelli's, because publishing still has to have a few lunches, I told him the story, and he said, "Jane, you can work part-time for me
He's lovely.
any day."
He was my publisher for a while.
So that's why I went to Macmillan, because people say, "Why did you go from being a managing director to being a publisher?" And I did that because Ross said, "You can work part-time for me any day." He saw the value of female talent.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I had a fantastic few years, about 7 years at Macmillan, whilst I had my 2 boys.
Oh, actually, see, revenge! Revenge! Fabulous! I think the reason women are drawn...
Outlive them.
Yes.
I think the reason women are drawn to revenge is that it's sweet but totally non-fattening. Fabulous.
It is. So Ross Gibb, we do have our allies.
We do. And it's been important to say that.
Yes.
That, of course, there are great men who do support us and want the best for us. But we need more. We need more men at the barricades. I've been saying the same feminist things. Jean and I have been saying the same thing through our comedy since we were teenagers, and we still don't have equal pay. So we need men to get on the barricades with us and say, enough. We need equality. We need it now. And I often say to some men challenge me when I'm on tour, and they'll say, you feminists are asking for too much. I'm like, are we? Are we really asking for too much? Equal pay? We'd like men to help us more around the house, which is in their interest. Is it scientifically proven no woman ever shot her husband while he's vacuuming? We'd like them to do the odd sensitive thing with snow peas in the kitchen, because the way to a woman's heart through her stomach, not aiming too high.
Because I've got boys who are now in their 20s, so I've looked at it through that, men's mental health. They don't want to always be the strong and the tough ones.
No, feminism works for men as well.
Yes, exactly. They're allowed to
thing.
have emotions.
Because, and not have the pressure to be the breadwinner and all of that.
Yeah, so I see it, having raised boys as a feminist, to make sure that we can have open discussions. And, I'd like to think that they're well on the way of being good allies.
Yes.
But, it is a brutal world out there. So I just think we do have to look out for each other. And I'm really thrilled to be working with young women again.
To sum up this fantastic conversation, which could go on for hours, how would you, what is the main message you'd like to say to people over 50 who are confronted by ageism or sexism, and how do they find it in them, the courage to stop that voice going, maybe I am too old?
Well, I would say carpe diem like there's no tomorrow. Tempus is fugiting, if not now, when? And, one of my mottos is adventure before dementia. Not that I'm making light of that terrible disease, but you never know what's around the corner. So there's no time to waste. Have as much fun and frivolity, be as outrageous as you can possibly be, because, this is your last big hurrah.
Yes. Be assertive now.
Don't have any qualms. Just tap dance on that tabletop.
When I've had moments of self-doubt, I get moving, not necessarily tap dancing, but get active, lift weights, go to the gym, run, walk the dog. Dark clouds gather. That's what I'd say. If I was in that frame of mind and wondering how the world was going to greet me, I'd take the world on and get active. Get those endorphins flowing, because then you feel so much better.
And also lean into the sisterly camaraderie.
Yes.
Go out with your girlfriends as often, which
Definitely.
Jean and I do.
Find beautiful women like yourselves and ring them up or have a glass of champagne.
Yes.
The human wonder bras, uplifting, supportive, and making each other look bigger and better, which is what Jean has done for us today.
Thank you.
No, you two you've both been fantastic.
Great
Thank you
fun.
so much.
Great
what
fun.
a great conversation.
Thank you, Jean.
Thanks.
you.
Sisterhood rules. Sisterhood rules.
Sisterhood rules. Thank you to Kathy Lette and Jane Curry. You've been listening to Season 7 of Life's Booming, Better With Age, brought to you by Australian seniors. Please leave a review and share this show with someone you know. Visit seniors.com.au/podcast for more episodes. Thank you.